gentlemen. It is the Beer, Meat, and Cheese podcast here on ESPN Sports. You can follow us over on YouTube and Spotify as well. My name is Johnny Samp. Alongside me, over to my right in this panel, is Mr. Carter Decker. And it is not a great week, Carter, because we did struggle against a really bad team. But we're going to talk about that a little bit here coming up. But at least we got the win. A win is a win, and we'll take it in any sort of fashion. So how are you doing this week? How are things moving?
It's been good. Like you said, it was a tough win. Grueling wins are always the toughest, but you know what? At the end of the day, we came out on top, and that's really what our team's proud of. I think if Matt LaFleur went in the locker room and said, it's all about fighting, together. So at the end of the day, we won. I agree. Probably should have handed it through them a little bit harder than 30-27. But you know what? At the end of the day, we get the W in the win column, and they get one in the L column. So. Good
Yeah,
day.
and I'm not discrediting it at all. I just think we're a better team than that for it even to be close. I mean, I really don't quite understand where that was coming from. But we are recording bright and early in the morning, so if you notice we're a little bit dim here, it's because it is about, what are we at, 7 o'clock in the morning, so it's going to be a great recording here. But let's talk about that win a little bit. The Packers do take down the Jaguars in non-dominant fashion, I would say, kind of playing down to the Jaguars' level in sort of their game plan, their schemes. Obviously, there's an amount of factors that go into that game. But it was an ugly-ass win, if we're being frank. And we did see some injuries on the Packers side, including Love, Evan Williams, I'm speaking of, and Jair on that last kind of sequence there. Looked like he pulled something. But nonetheless, they squeaked it out. They got a win. And we do struggle in Florida. We talked about that last week. We've always struggled in Florida. We never play well in Florida. It's not a place I like to play. It's a place that, maybe on the off season they'll visit and hit the golf course or something, but definitely not during football season. It's not fun at all. So going into that game, what were your expectations? And then obviously during the game, what were you thinking? Because I was kind of almost hitting a panic button, just not seeing what was supposed to be happening and what I thought should be happening.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely talked about it last week. It just seemed like we should have came into this game with a much bigger mindset than what we came in with. Jordan Love put it perfectly. Our inconsistency on offense is just going to be killer right now. Our consistency on defense, however, is a bright shining light. Yeah, at least in my opinion, I think we've been playing phenomenally well on the defensive side. Now, did we allow 27 points? Yes. But again, it's easy to do that when our offense is turning the ball over and we are giving them great field position. So I will put this one on the offense. I agree with Jordan. It's just inconsistency. I think we have the ability and we have the playmaking to do it. I just think that we just gotta, kind of wrap it up and put it into one whole game, 4 quarters of that game, and we could be a different team. I definitely went into the game thinking that we should have blown them out. We didn't. The score was actually a little higher than I had anticipated on the Jaguars side. But again, when you give them the ball so many times, it's what you see. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I was panicking a little bit towards the middle of that game, but my philosophy, at least nowadays, is if you're gonna start panicking, just sit there and be calm and just be quiet. I become a quiet Packer fan, and I just watch and watch and watch, and then they scored at the very ending, and Jennifer Lawrence.
Kick the
Excuse me.
field goal.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, there you go. Trevor Lawrence scored that touchdown. Was talking trash on Ja, and he was giving it right back. And then we went down there, and you gave the Packers too much time, which seems to always be the trend. So at the end of the day, I came out happy. Wasn't completely happy the entire time, but you know what? A W makes my week, so I'm riding a high still.
All right, now talking about that game, we'll go through the stats here. Love, 14 for 22, 196 yards, and one interception in the game. He did leave early. Lawrence was 21 for 32, 308 yards, and 2 TDs, 1 interception. Now in the run game, Josh Jacobs had a huge game, 25 carries, and we did talk about that, 127 yards and 2 TDs. On the other side, Bigsby, he had 18 carries, 78 yards. And then in the receiving columns, it was Kraft leading the way with 3 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. On the other side, it's going to be Thomas Jr. With 3 catches, 60 yards. and a touchdown. But let's talk about that Jacobs side of things. Obviously, Love went down, and when Love hurts, you got to go to Jacobs. It seemed like, I know, making a little pun here on a bright and early podcast. Um, but talk about Jacobs filling in that role and really helping out that offense. I mean, is it something we got to work more with Jordan Love, like in his game plan, like working more of a Malik Willis scheme with Jordan Love? Or what are your thoughts there? Like, because Jacobs, I mean, he's been performing out of his mind when he gets a number of carries.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a good idea. I haven't really thought about it like that, especially with him, Jordan, that is, being a little bit injured right now with that groin injury. Having a little bit more of a Malik Willis style attack would be beneficial. However, Malik Willis does like to run, and they open up a lot of that game to him, or at least give him that kind of freedom of like, hey, if you don't see it, get out of dodge and go get downfield and get down. So I think to a certain extent it could work. I definitely love feeding Josh Jacobs. All you hear around the league nowadays is how he's not performing the way that he should be, which is a complete misconception because he's getting 25 carries and he just ran for 127 yards. That's good stats right there. So I don't agree with the general consensus of the ESPN or sports world that he is not performing. As a matter of fact, I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think Matt LaFleur is also doing a great job of managing him in the sense of when he does need to get the ball, we're going to rely on him and give him the ball. But also, we're trying to focus on not overworking him and making him that workhorse that he was when he was with the Raiders. So I think we're doing a good mix of both right now. And again, every time he touches the ball, it just feels like he has a little bit more passion. And it feels like there's a little bit more drive from the entire team to get him downfield. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing. And like I had said last week, we don't need a peak now. We just got to get this consistency underneath our belts, and I think we're going to have a good week. I like Josh Jacobs, and I like what he's doing. I definitely like our backup running backs, Emmanuel Wilson, and our new guy, Chris Brooks. Huge play towards the end of getting down on the 5 yard line or close to the 5 yard line to run out time. So I really like our running game right now. We just got to start consistency in the passing game.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. But I do think, especially with Love's inconsistencies right now, maybe taking a little pressure off, giving more carries to Jacobs wouldn't be a bad thing. And as you mentioned, the backups are really good as well, with Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd potentially coming back here, even though he's kind of had an early showing of promise, and then he got hurt, so it's going to be question marks on how he's going to play. But I definitely think if we do want to maybe put a little more of the workload on Jacobs, ease off on Jordan Love's arm, and give him a little break, I think it would change up the offense a little bit, and I think it would look fantastic if we kind of ran a Malik Willis scheme with that with Jacobs and with Jordan Love still in play. But other questions I have for you. McManus looks good. Again, he comes in clutch. And another guy that I wanted to call out on the defensive side of the ball is Edrin Cooper. Dude just plays ball and he plays it really well. I'm amazed his jersey sales. I mean, they've got to start getting hot here because he's playing. I mean, did you see that one highlight of him covering the field? He ran in and then he turned around and ran back and caught up with the receiver. Basically, I mean, it's nuts how he's playing. But let's talk a little bit about the. We're seeing good things on both sides of the ball, the offense and the defense. What side are you more happy with? What side are you more concerned with?
Oh, definitely defense. Even coming from an offensive guy, I'm definitely more happy with our defense. We've just remained fairly consistent. Now, again, we let Trevor Lawrence throw for 308 yards, but when we put him in bad positions, it's really hard for them to hold. Especially Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we can talk all the smack we want, but he is an NFL quarterback, and he does do work. So, and he's done work in the past, and it's very clear that he's got an arm and he's got the talent to do it. So, I got to put all my respect to the defense right now. They've been playing absolutely lights out and keeping us in games. Had it not be for our defense, had it been our defense from a few years ago, um,
Yeah, with Joe Barry.
we yeah, we might be letting these teams or these games slip away. Now, if we had few close games that probably could have been a little bit more blowoutish, sure. but I think our defense right now is just playing absolutely phenomenal, and I think our offense, we've got plenty of time to catch up with our defense being in the game right now. However, it's not sustainable. We can sit here and talk about how great it is all day long. However, if we don't get this thing going, at some point in the future, our defense is going to get limited like we are right now. We got quite a few injuries on the defensive side of things, few key injuries on the defensive side of things. Um, and our offense really needs to step up and start holding onto the ball for a little bit longer, and getting more consistent drives. That way, our defense can kind of rest up in between series.
Yes, and I think another factor, like we were talking about before, is kind of running that Malik Willis scheme, reducing those turnovers or turnover potential, running with more with Jacobs and even Wilson. I talk about Wilson all the time, but he's a phenomenal back for a backup. I mean, he runs like a ton of bricks, and if he's gonna go down, it's gonna be painful to take him down, without a doubt. But I really think this team has a lot of potential in the schemes they could run because I really think we're kind of obviously we're running the right schemes right now. But to reduce turnovers, to maybe sustain those longer drives, you're going to have to burn off chew some clock too as well. I think Jacobs is going to be a big factor in that. And then I also see Emmanuel Wilson obviously, becoming a big factor as well. The other thing I would like to see is running more sweeps with Reed, in that offensive scheme. I know we kind of strayed away from that. We did it first couple weeks, and Reed was really stacking up the numbers, for that offense. And I think that would be a really nice, addition back into the offense, getting some motion and getting some players moving. And then Reed's a fast, slippery dude. So
Yeah.
give him the ball on the outside. He might break it for a big one. And at the end of the day, that's more of a safer, I would say, offense than what we're doing right now. We're just kind of slinging it, but we're still finding ways to win games.
Yep. I actually almost disagree with our sweep game, only because the last few weeks it's just been, like you said, we've been dwindling on the sweeps, but it also seems like teams are starting to pick it up a lot more, and they're doing
That's
a
true.
great job of picking it up. However, I do agree that we need to get it in Jaden Reed's hands. The last few games, he has been getting the ball. I think he's put up 50 and 60 yards completions.
Yeah, it's been
Um,
nothing substantial, but yeah.
Right. So, I mean, and he started the season with 100-yard games. So for him, yeah, it does seem like a little bit of a fall off. But I definitely agree. We need to get it in his hands because he is just an awesome playmaker, and he can get 50 in space. So I think the sweeps are being read a little bit more. However, I think we have plenty of playmaking opportunities, and our coach is a great playmaker. So I think he's going to come up with a few different ways to get Jaden Reed the ball, without making it look so similar to what we've done in the past, just because it's getting read pretty well. Although that does open up the run game, like you said, to just shove it down the middle, and try and get everyone, going with the sweep. So I agree. I think we could do a few more. I just think we need to do them a little bit smarter. I think we ran two or three this game, and I know two for sure got stuffed either on the yard line or on the line of scrimmage or behind. So we'll see what happens. But I think we have opportunities. We got all the playmakers. We've got to put it in their hands, in space, that is.
Yeah. And with that, we I think we can move forward here and talk about the elephant in the room. We got a big one coming up this weekend, and I know you know who's coming in town because they've been talking, and it's the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Now, this team, Detroit coming in, obviously, I think they're on a 5 game win streak. I think, besides having the bye. So they are rolling without a doubt. Detroit is a beast right now. Now, what are your thoughts on this game in Lambeau and looking forward to this one coming up Sunday?
I don't know if it's the early morning air or if it's just getting out of bed, but woke up with a little bit of pessimism. I'm not gonna lie to you. They are just looking absolutely ferocious. The Lions are coming out and they're eating up everybody that they can find. So I think it's going to be one tough game. Um, as much as I hate to say it, because I'd love to give us 18-0 record, but lost it already. I think we actually might be a little bit closer to the score that we see, last week. I'm hoping we can hold them to close to 30 points or under 30 points, but I have a feeling, just the way that the Lions have been rolling, that once they just get something going, it's hard to get them stopped. This is going to have to be an offensive game. Our defense is going to be stretched, and they're already stretched thin. So if we have a chance to win this game, it's going to have to be on the offensive side, and of course that just puts more pressure on Jordan Love to throw the ball. It possibly puts more pressure on Josh Jacobs, which they are very good at keying in on the running game, even minus Hutchinson. So I think it's going to be a very challenging game for us. Um, Again, I hate to say it, but I think we might come out on bottom on this one just with the way that we've been playing and the way that the Lions have been dominating the league. However, we have plenty of opportunities. We got the weapons, we got the defense, we got the offense, we got the coach and the coaching mindset to go out there and win this game. And we've shown in the past that we can go out there and roll them, even when we're down on the stat sheet. So I'm a little pessimistic. What do you think?
I'm going to take the other side. I see only opportunity in this contest. I see a team that obviously not, I don't think we're playing to our full potential at all. I think Detroit gives us this opportunity to get kind of hit in the face, but I think we're a team that responds very well. Um, and I think that part of that's coaching, part of that's Matt LaFleur leading the way uh, in doing that sort of stuff. But I think this is really a good opportunity for us to spoil. And the reason I say that, and I know this sounds nuts, because I'm obviously the crazier one of the two. Carter's more logical. Um, I'm more batshit crazy. Call me what you want, but you're always going to love me. But the fact that we have so many different ways to win ball games really piques my interest because we do it with Malik Willis, a guy that was literally dumped off, saying that he's a bust and he's not good, and now he looks really fantastic. We have Jordan Love. Obviously, he's seen his struggles here in the early going of the season. And we have Josh Jacobs. We have a lot of different things. Now, our defensive side, obviously, the injuries are going to be an issue. But I think, in our D-line not getting necessarily the pass rush that they want, which is driving me nuts because we're not making a move towards a pass rushing edge. Even if we played Hooper, I don't know if you remember him from the preseason. I think he's a dog. And I think he wants to hunt and let that dog off the leash. But I think we have a lot of potential here. Yes, Detroit's going to be a good team. I'm not concerning that because they're clicking on all cylinders right now.
Yeah.
I would say they're running at full capacity. And great for them, but as you mentioned, it's a little early. And to maintain that, I don't know if they can. Obviously, Jameson Williams not being in the game is going to help us a bunch on defense. And now he's got another charge coming up. Clown. And
Yeah,
gonna keep
not
things
good.
going. But I think we have a lot of potential in this contest to really prove kind of who we are as a team. Now, I may be totally wrong, and you can roast me on that next week. But I think Detroit, yes, they put up big numbers, but I mean, if the big numbers I've seen are on teams that are struggling. The Cowboys are struggling. They don't look good. Last week, the Titans are struggling. Obviously, we beat them with the backup quarterback and looked really good doing it. So I'm not as concerned. I'm wondering if the Packers are looking at the game against the Buccaneers, seeing how they manufactured it, because they played a solid game. The one thing I know we're going to have to do, though, in this contest is be very physical. And I don't care if there's going to be chippiness after the play. Detroit's chippy, and they like to be chippy. I highly, highly, highly recommend the green and gold to play as chippy as them. Kind of give them that kick your teeth in mentality, because I really cannot stand Detroit. Last year they were kind of a pity team that we cheered for. Like when they moved on to that against the 49ers, we're like, oh, beat the 49ers, whatever. And I still don't think they are that great of a. I mean, I think they're playing well. I'm not going to dismiss that. But as a team, I don't know if they're a championship team yet, just because they don't have the discipline. They have off the field issues. They're a big, loud team that's going to try to intimidate you. But I think the Packers, obviously moving more traditional side of the road, we're a very clean played team. We try not to get penalties. We do get penalties quite a bit. It's driving me nuts. But a lot of those are on stupid mistakes. So if we win, we're going to have to eliminate three things. Obviously, the defense is going to have to get a pass rush going. Goff does not like to be moved, especially in outside places. He's more comfortable inside. He struggles on the in outdoor stadiums. So that's one benefit to us. The second benefit to us is our secondary is going to have to be solid because Detroit obviously is Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. Now, given the look, actually Tucker Kraft is leading Sam Laporta in stats, which I never would have guessed in the beginning of the season. But still a dominant weapon out there, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So you're going to have to play, obviously you're going to have to shift and read that offense and see what they're doing. They do have a creative offense. And do that sort of thing. And then lastly, our offense is not going to commit turnovers. We commit turnovers, they're going to kick us in the teeth on those. And obviously, in the grand scheme of things, we can't have any special team turnovers, muff punts, anything like that to give them another opportunity to win. So I think if we play a clean game, even though we aren't clicking on all cylinders, and we do have a number of injuries on our roster, I'm going the no excuses route. I'm saying we can win this ball game. And I'm going to say it's going to be 28-24, something in that ballpark, right up there. I think Detroit obviously plays high-scoring games, and our defense is going to have to – Jeff Hafley is going to have to come up with something. But I'm hoping Robert Salah maybe has something in his back pocket. Just maybe text him or something. Hey, did you notice this about Goff?
This.
Yeah, have you seen this on Goff? Now, did you see? Now, this is totally sidetracking. That Bill Belichick texted one of the coaches for the Patriots on the Dolphins game. I think it was Dolphin Patriots. And apparently, because a player exposed this, he said, like, in the middle of the game, the coach had noticed that the snapper had a routine that he did. And
right.
And Belichick noticed, when it was going to go. And on TV, he texted him. And he texted the coach. And the coach told the players. And they got a blocked field goal with it.
What?
Because the holder.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. But apparently Bill Belichick was watching the game. And he's like, you guys aren't seeing this? Like, this holder's doing one. He has one thing when because they do the fakes, obviously.
Right, he has like a tick or something that he does.
He has a tick that he does. And sure shit. The next play, the next field goal, they got it blocked because the guy was able to jump it. And so, he does the snapper raises his head, and then the kick, or I think it was like a hand motion that he did. Set up his hand like that. Because, sometimes they hold them out like that just to keep it consistent. But he, moved his hand back and held it back out. And then that's when it was going to be snapped because he, prepared his wrist. I don't know. And Belichick apparently texted the coach. And he said, because I think it was the Dolphins. And he's like, you guys aren't seeing this? And then he's like, I'm watching on my TV and I can see it from here. So that's that was a crazy story.
No, I never seen that. Yeah, we need that type of coaching, and I agree with all three of your points too. We definitely need to do all three of those things. Well, what I would give as my three is, one, we need Jared Goff to have the worst completion percentage of his life. Because the last few games he's been going I think he's been going over 75% for the last few games, which is just crazy because he's just been going off. We need to have the worst completion percentage. We need to have at least a special team score, I think, or at least a really, really good day on special teams. If we can't flip that field on special teams where we're getting across the 50, it's going to be a long day on offense with just how we've been playing and how good the Detroit defense is. And then the third thing we need is we just need one turnover. That's the one thing that they've been doing really well. Jared Goff, X needs to come out and get another pick, especially off Jared Goff, because when Jared Goff starts getting a little bit down in the dump, he's a decent comeback quarterback, but he's not great. If we can get a little bit of a lead on Detroit, I think that's where we're actually going to start thriving. I think we do pretty well from in front. Now, we were in front this week by 3 points, then we ended up giving that up. So it's hard to kind of say. I just think that if we can do those three things and we can just hold the Detroit offense to being limited, then I think we can pull this game out. But I do appreciate your optimistic approach. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah, Debbie Downer over here, or Decker Downer.
Yeah, Decker down, and there you go. Just very pessimistic this morning. But you know what? We're playing a good team, so I'll stick to my guns. I think it's going to be a tough challenge, but I completely agree with you. If we can do some of those good things and we
Just
can
clean
stay
it up.
consistent, I think we can. I think we could win. Now, if I'm putting money on it, I like the Packers though. We're gonna do okay, and even if we do lose at the end of the day, I just hope we put some good on tape because this is going to be a good game, and we're probably going to end up seeing them in the future.
Oh, you see him at least once more.
Well, yeah, for sure, at least once more. But down the
Yeah, in
road,
postseason.
past week 18. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so my final thoughts on that one here, real quick. Obviously, Packers have to play a really clean game. And I think they got to get, I'm going to say 2 turnovers. And I know they don't turn the ball over much, but even if it's a fourth down stop, because you know Dan Campbell is risky. And he's going to go for those fourth and maybe fours, fives, and just keep the drive moving. And I think the Packers have, I mean, the defense, it's really untapped, and I liked what I saw last week from Devontae Wyatt coming into the game, playing really well. And then we have Cooper, Eric Wilson can play well, and a number of others. Kenny Clark really hasn't awakened yet. I'm really kind of shocked, actually, he hasn't been awoken. And then Rashawn Gary has really been quiet. Lucas Van Ness, I really think we should trade him at this point, but that's my opinion. We can get somebody better, but I think we have a lot of potential, and I think we can do this. Um, Obviously, you've never been a real motivational speaker, huh? And gonna get the pregame chant, guys. It looks like we're gonna get beat here, but well, I respect
What if we
your
lock it in?
I respect your philosophy though, taking the tape and looking at it. I want to see us play a, if anything, just one takeaway. If we can play a game without any real mistakes, I'm gonna be thrilled. If we can play a
This
clean
would
game against a good team, I'll be thrilled.
this would definitely be the game to do it too. If we can just go clean, and even if we lose, again that sucks. But if we can play a clean game with no turnovers, smart decisions on all sides of the ball, we're not fumbling it on the 5 yard line when we're receiving kicks, or when we do get out on offense, we're making it count when we're lasting a few minutes out there. We're not just three and outing every other series. So I think there's plenty of potential, and I think we play really well against the Lions, especially when we know it's a divisional game. We're just going to play a different kind of game. So I think you're right. I think we got plenty of chances. I think we got plenty of players. It's really just going to come down to who wants it more. And right now, the Lions are hungry, but the Packers, we're on our way. And again, we haven't peaked yet, and they're starting to peak pretty well. And Jared Goff is playing really, really well right now. But who's going to sustain it? And at the end of the day, one loss midway through the season, is that going to really matter as much as having a healthy and maybe even better team than we did midway through the season in the postseason? So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for it regardless. I think it's going to be a great game to watch. I think it's going to be good TV regardless, and I think it's going to be a fun game to cover when we're done.
And one thing I wanted to point out, because I just brought it up, when I first met you, it was when the Packers played the Cowboys in the playoffs, and you had kind of the same mentality of
I did. I was very pessimistic about that
yeah
game. So, and we
in the
saw how that
playoff.
turned.
So I've seen it happen once, ladies and gentlemen, before. So maybe it'll turn again the same way. But what Carter was like, I talked to him, big football guy. I'm like, oh, this guy's a football guy. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't think we have much of a chance against the Cowboys. And I'm like, what? I'm like, come on, clown. like,
Yeah, I was very pessimistic about that game, and then we went out there and showed out. So,
now I
hey,
don't
man,
think
if
that's
it
going to
happens
happen
again,
here. It's not
if it
Jerry Jones.
happens again, man,
If it
I'm gonna
does,
start
I'm
singing
gonna
all three.
just get a. I'm gonna buy a lottery ticket. But anyways, let's move on to the rest of the North here, and we'll talk first about the Lions. The Lions beat the Titans 52-14, and Goff continues to look good in this contest, and he continues to play really high caliber football. What are you seeing from the Lions? We kind of talked about it already, but in this contest, what did you see from the Lions that looked good? What do you think they could work on?
I think their passing game was actually kind of atrocious. I think he only totaled 87 yards passing. So this week was actually not a great game for him over the air. However, what I'm super concerned about watching that game back was their running game. Now, obviously, the Titans aren't the greatest team in the world. However, they ran all over the Titans. So they were just, I think there was two 70-yard runs that they had, or for sure one to Jahmyr Gibbs. So it's kind of scary looking at that side of things, especially when our run defense hasn't been the strongest. But if we can stop one or the other, I think it's going to end up being well for us. Um, I think their defense is playing pretty well. Again, when you play the Titans, are you really expecting your
Yeah,
defense
you're
to
kind of playing a
not play
Pop Warner
well?
team at the park.
No. So it's kind of a little skewed from that aspect, but I think there's a lot of good things we can take away from that game. Now, was he throwing really hard at at the end of the game when they had 52 points? No. But I think if we can stop or at least take away from the Titans what they did um, to stop his passing game, I think that'll be extremely beneficial. And then we need to really look at how they were successful on the running side of things. Um, we definitely have struggled with that in the past, coming from the Packers defense. So I think that that's a good teach tape to say, hey, this is where these guys failed, and the Lions just ate. So I think we got opportunities. I think the Lions are on kind of a high right now, and I'd love to go out there and squash
Oh, I love the shit on their high, as much as anything in the world. But yeah, obviously Lions look good. They continue to look good. Now Goff, if I'm the Packers, I'm looking more focused. I'd probably be more focused on without Jameson Williams stopping that run game than the passing. The reason why is Goff has never been an elite passer. He's kind of playing in this Lynn. I always use the Lynn Sandy term, but I mean maybe it's not. Maybe it is this good. But he struggles in outdoor venues. So I would force Goff's hand. I would say beat us passing wise. And we do have a couple guys that can make turnovers on that backside. If Ja plays, he's good. Evan Williams is good. And then everybody's favorite, the X-Men, Xavier McKinney. He's really good at making those turnovers. Yep, that's right. I mean, I don't want to do the Dak Prescott X. Or not Dak, Dez Bryant.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, Dak, Dez,
we do
same.
it better. We do it better.
But anyways, um, I think we have a real potential to do something really cool here, and I think we can really get it done. But we gotta stop the run game with Gibbs, and then Montgomery, I believe, is the other one that they kind of sub in. And it's kind of a two-headed monster. So it's gonna have to be a big game from Kenny, big game from Wyatt Slayton, whoever's playing next to him, and then the outsides are gonna have to keep them in. Whether it's Vaness, Gary, Preston Smith, and whoever else. But we gotta figure out a way. And we even if we don't, like you said, take it to tape, find a way to beat them next time. Because I always love spoiling in Detroit. I always
Yeah, yeah.
love spoiling Motor City. And then last year when we did it, they didn't even give us the turkey leg. Didn't give Jordan
I
Love.
was just about to say that. I'm still upset about that. I
I
couldn't
am
imagine
too.
how they're feeling.
Fox NFL, give us a turkey leg. Come on, it's a turkey. What do they
Did you hear
cost now?
why?
What do they cost now, a
Yeah,
turkey?
I mean, come on, this is $20. You tell me you couldn't find another turkey just because they already branded it and they put the Lions logo on it, thinking they were gonna win?
No, it's
Come on, you don't have
because
another
they
turkey back
have
there?
two turkeys, but what room I think, if I remember right, it was Olson was started to eat it.
Oh, no way.
Greg Olson, yeah, he started to eat it, I believe, because they thought the Packers didn't have a chance in this one, and then when they didn't get the leg, whatever. But we'll try to let that grudge go because holding on to grudges does us no good. Now let's talk about a really fun game here, Carter. Let's try to liven things up a little bit on this actually morning recording of the Beer, Meat, and Cheese podcast. Once again on ESPN Sports and Spotify and YouTube as well. Find us anywhere, anytime, and give us a listen before you tailgate. We bring you all everything you need. Good sports talk, and then beer, meat, and cheese. But let's talk about the Bears losing to the Commanders. That was a fun one. Like, come on, Bears lose 15-18 to the Commanders in a game that really captivated my attention, especially those last couple drives. I mean, the Bears go down, they score, and then Tyreek Stevenson, man, that final play, he's clouting out. He's trying to talk to the fans,
Yep.
trying to show off.
And all hype. Woo! Yeah, how'd that work out for you? Turn around and then he wasn't even like late to the play. He ended up getting in the play, and then he
He
ended
was
up
the one who
actually
tipped it.
tipping the ball. Right, he's the one that tipped the ball right into 85's hands. Yeah, that was it's a dream come true for a Packer fan right there. Just watching that from play to play, and it was actually kind of a crazy offensive game because it was such a low scoring game, but they had so many yards gained total. It was kind of obscene that they were getting the ball out and they were moving it like that, but not scoring. And then they come down on the what were they on the 3 or 2 yard line, try to put in their own fridge, and
Oh
it
yeah,
just
the
gets
kind of snap to the
fumbled.
chest.
Yeah, just fumbled, and that's the most Bears things I've
That's
ever
Bears
seen.
football.
Yeah, and then they had too much time. They were celebrating on the sidelines, like, oh, whatever, we got them. And then they got up to that 50-yard line, got that ball spiked or timeout or however they did it, and then just yacked it down there. And one way or the other, a miracle happened. And guess what? As a Packer fan, that miracle is just gonna sit well with us all season.
And one thing I want to mention is Tyreek Stevenson was the same guy who was making bets with fans before the game. There's video of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
saw that.
making. I mean, clearly the guy's a clown, and it shows to the structure of the Bears organization just not really a good handle on their players. I mean, if I'm Matt Eberflus, and I mean, I would never want to be in his shoes. You have Tyreek sitting on the other side of the field, trying to hype up the Bears crowd that's cup sparingly there, and just totally not focused at all. And you have Jaden Daniels, who's proven to be a guy that seems to be having things going his way. You have a great opportunity to spoil, and like you said, he wasn't late to the play. He was actually the guy who put his hand up and tipped it back. And the fact their formation, because every Hail Mary actually has a formation when they get gathered, bunched up, have guys behind, have guys in front, tip guys, that sort of thing. And the fact they didn't have anybody on the backside of 85, no, I forget who that is, but the fact they didn't have anybody on the backside of that is shocking. They didn't set up for that. They didn't prepare for that. I know he kind of slipped out, but they didn't have anybody even back there. It was all black jerseys, and once that ball got tipped up, it was going away, and they weren't going to be able to do anything about it. And then he caught it right in the end zone. Didn't have to do anything. Just spike it and celebrate.
Got right into his hands. Didn't, like you said, didn't have to do anything. He actually, it kind of looked like he got shoved out of there, and then he was just like, oh, and he was right in his hands. Yeah,
Oh,
it was.
shucks.
Oh no, I caught the ball in the end zone.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, I ruined your big day, didn't I?
yeah,
Ruined your big...
that was awesome. It was very, very fun to watch. It was an interesting game to say the least, especially with the two rookie quarterbacks running around. But yeah, that ending was just astounding. And he got that ball down there. Didn't get it all the way down there without the tip, of course, but he had plenty of time in that pocket and just made the most of it. And thankfully, there were no holding penalties or anything like that that would have called it back. And he just sent it out there. And, it's just one of those plays where everything worked out for the best for the Commanders, that is, and then nothing worked out for the Bears. So it's fun to see them fall like that, and especially when that clip is going to be airing all season.
And it's another moment of the Bears. Anyways, but one thing you did mention was there no holding. Now, Bears fans are saying there was holding on that play, and they do have a little bit of an argument, but I don't really think it makes a difference in the play. Obviously, it would take them, redo the play 5 yards back. But during that moment, doesn't kind of everybody kind of give a hold? I mean, there was obviously pushing and shoving in the pile there, and I think there was actually a Bears player holding a guy in the end zone, which could have made the argument there. But a lot of Bears fans upset. They claim there was a hold. I don't know.
Just take the L. It's fine.
Just take the L, suckers. But
get back farther down in the standings where you belong, and we'll keep on the way out.
But they don't necessarily have an easy one going into this week. They got the Arizona Cardinals. Now, obviously, scrambling quarterback there with Kyler Murray. Marvin Harrison Jr. seems to be picking things up maybe a little bit. And what do you think of this game?
Honestly, it's going to be also a good game because I mean we've played the Cardinals and we see what they can do, and we've definitely put on tape what, or at least a good way to stop them. But looking at the Bears defense, I don't know if they really have those capabilities, or at least the sideline to sideline capabilities to keep up with Kyler. Now, of course, in their secondary and their corners and their safeties, they got some speed back there. But in terms of their linebackers and their D line, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble keeping Kyler contained. And I think at the end of the day, James Conner is going to be just having another huge game. He's going to be running all over him. He's great in the pass game. I think they're going to play a lot of dinks and dunks to him, especially with that secondary that the Bears have. I don't like to give them anything, but I will give them that. They do got a great secondary. At least they've been playing pretty well. So I'd like to see them run the ball, or Arizona run the ball quite a bit and stay in the short screen game kind of thing. And I think that'll actually produce a pretty good win for them. It'll open up a lot of things downfield, especially for their tight end McBride, and of course, like I said, Marvin Harrison Jr. is picking it up on the deep end of things. So he can definitely take the top off. Um, just got to have them suck up a little bit, give them a little bit of that underneath look, get them to bite on a play action or something like that, and then I think Tyler and Marvin Harrison are going to be off to the races. Defensively for the Arizona Cardinals, I think that they got their hands full with uh, the Chicago, wide receiver room, and of course, DeAndre Swift has finally started to pick it up after the first few weeks of just being absolutely meh and not doing really anything. Um, so I think they got their hands full on the defensive side for the Arizona Cardinals, but I think that they can outgun the Chicago Bears. I think it'll probably end up being another offensive game more than defensive. And I think as long as they can just keep outgunning and outscoring, they're going to have no issues with the Chicago Bears, especially if they can get up by a score or two. I think that'll end up putting a little bit more fire behind James Conner and behind that defensive side of things on the Arizona Cardinals. And I think they pull out the win on this one.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals obviously are a solid team, solid roster. Don't necessarily know if they beat the Bears, but it's going to be a close one. And the one thing I would say, if I am them, if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, is get into situations that are manageable in that game. The Bears obviously have talent on their. I would say their. I wouldn't necessarily say their line D line is the greatest. Yes, it's solid, but their secondary is pretty solid. Now I think Jalen Johnson's overrated. Yes, I just like to hate on him. If you look at the stats from Jair in 2022 and Jalen Johnson like last year, like how much hype he got even last year, they're nowhere even close. Jair's like blowing him out of the water. But I like to just give him a little Mataz, but I think the Bears might get this one, unfortunately. It's gonna be something lame like 20-17 score. I got a feeling. Caleb Williams once again in the Commanders game really didn't play that well. I think he only played well in like the fourth quarter, but I mean, I think he only was held like 100 some odd yards in the contest. But I'm not real thrilled about what I'm seeing with him if I'm a Bears fan. And I think there's a lot of potential that needs to be exposed for them. But I got the Bears winning against the Cardinals, 2017, something like that. Unfortunately, I don't think Kyler can pull it off.
I think he can. I think he's got the ability. I think they got the team. I just need to see them really put something offensively out there, and like I was saying, they need to rinky dink it down there. They can't do this whole let's go for yard right off the bat.
Can't
And
give
they tried that
them
a few times.
can't give
Right.
them Des Prescott. Here we go.
Yeah, no. Gotta lock it in, and we gotta just. I think if they just, play a smart football game, they can beat the Chicago Bears. If they start trying to air it out and just get crazy with it, which we know that they can, and they can start doing some funky things with it. I think if they stay away from that, they will probably have a better chance of winning. Um, but I guess time will tell. I mean, maybe the Bears somehow have a good day, or maybe the Cardinals go out there and they just demolish. So I'm excited to watch it either way. I'm going to put my money on the Arizona Cardinals, and I think, like you said, it's going to be a lower scoring game. I'm actually going to say that the Cardinals only score 17 points, and they're going to beat them beat them by 3 points 14-17 is my prediction.
Okay. And then finally we had the Vikings. Moving on here, losing to the Rams 30-20. Good thing for us. Now they're the same record as well, not even. We didn't haven't taken our bye, but they're 5-2, I believe. And the Vikings kind of seen the downfall start. I'm gonna say,
Kind of seeing it start. Yeah.
kind of seeing it. There's hints of it, and I know I got a lot of flack on the social media for posting the 2016 record and seeing after the bye week the LLLLWL whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing it start just a little bit. Ship seems to be sinking. You know, it's like you hit the iceberg, you're seeing the water come up.
Right.
It's
Right.
happening. But I'm glad they lost. Nonetheless, fans upset. And obviously, in that last second, once again, another late penalty that they think could change the game. That face mask. Do I really think it would change the game? No. Um, but does it maybe make a difference? Maybe. What did you think of that game first off, and then finally that late minute non call penalty?
I think the game was just not great. It didn't. I mean, they
Yep.
had some offensive keys. It just wasn't great. I mean, there was a lot of just kind of meh plays, and I mean, like you said, 30-20 isn't a low scoring game. It definitely is a higher scoring game, and obviously there was some touchdowns and some good plays in there. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't. It just wasn't fantastic. I mean, Matthew Stafford went out there and he played the best he could with what he had, and he got some of his weapons back to go out there and ball out. And on the Minnesota side of things, it just seemed like they fell short, and uh, they started making some small mistakes and getting kicked off the field pretty fast. They didn't. I don't think Sam Darnold threw too many picks. I believe he threw one for sure, although you don't quote me on that. But it's not like he played horrible either. It just wasn't clicking, and they kept threeing it out, or they would get stopped on third down, and they just didn't do it. And then, like I said, at the end of the game, they were still down by 10 points with, I believe, uh, just under or just over 3 minutes to go. And then the face mask happened, and I don't think it makes that big of a difference. I think maybe it makes a difference on that drive. They get out of their own end zone. They maybe get down to like the 30 or 40-yard line of their own, and then they get stopped. Just because the Rams defense was playing lights out and they were finally starting to click on their side of things. So I don't think it made too big of a difference. Now, is it a missed call and was it an egregious missed call? Yeah,
No.
probably. It seemed like it was right there in front of the ref, and it just seemed like the ref was like, "Oh, here comes the pass rusher." And Sam Darnold's down. Okay, now I'll agree with that, but I don't think it made that big of a game. I think they were losing that regardless, whether it was by 3 points or 2 points. Even if they go down there and score, I don't think they win the game. But I definitely think that it was a missed call to put it very simply. I just don't think it was as impactful as some of the Vikings fans make it seem.
Yeah, and they're obviously going to color that book pretty bright. But yeah, I really don't think it would make any difference in the contest. Um, I just don't see it making that big of a difference. I don't think Darnold is going to march down the field and score that drive. And there was only a little bit of time left, and I think they only had like one timeout, so I don't think there's a lot of opportunities there. Obviously, if I'm a Vikings fan, yes, I want the call, but I'm not a Vikings fan, thank God, and I can
Thank
cheer for the Pack. Yeah, praise the Lord. Wasn't born into a Vikings fans family, and so I'll let it go. But they have the Colts this week. How does this one go?
They got the Colts. The Colts just sat Anthony Richardson and starting Joe Flacco.
That's a fun
Joe,
story.
Joe
Subbing out.
Flacco. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've seen both sides of things because I mean, you see, this is one thing I will nitpick on Romeo Dobbs, and I love Romeo Dobbs to the end of the days. I would love to get my jersey signed. I love him. He's definitely my number one wide receiver on across the league. I just love him. However, he does come out quite a bit just because I'd be staring at him, and he's sometimes after a big play he's like to get me out. I see wide receivers, running backs, even D line, and even they get out. But the quarterback, I know you're a running
No, you
quarterback. You
can't do that.
can't be subbing out, man. Or if you are gonna sub out, I think who was it? It was Pat McAfee that was like, "Fake it, man. Hey, oh my ribs," or "Oh I'm getting a cramp," and go sit on the sideline for one or two plays. Oh, okay, the cramp's better. Let me get back out there. You don't have to be. I mean, not that I'm trying to say be dishonest, but I do appreciate the honesty.
Oh, fake it till you
You
make
could have
it.
you could have sugarcoated it a little bit,
Little
not just
bit.
been like, "Hey, I'll be honest, I'm just tired. I'm out of." Because what it basically said to everybody is, "I'm out of shape. I don't care enough to get in shape, and I don't care enough that if I'm out of shape and I'm not playing well, I'm just gonna pull myself out and I need a break." You don't want to see that from your starting quarterback. So I'm very interested to see how Joe Flacco goes out there and plays. I'm not a Joe Flacco fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like the comeback story. I like that he's a little bit on the older side and that teams are starting to just kind of trade him around because they don't think he's extremely useful. And then he goes into the teams and then he's like, okay, I'm going to lead us to at least one victory somewhere or the other. So I'm excited. I think this would be a great spoiler to continue the Vikings spoiler season and just see how that plays out. I'm definitely going to be watching that and definitely going to be rooting for the Colts.
Yeah, and I'm going to be the same way. I hope it does spoil. Just something happen. And Joe Flacco playing that. The one point I wanted to make on Anthony Richardson is what's the message to the linemen there? Obviously, you're subbing out. Your linemen are busting their ass. They're a lot bigger than you are. They have a lot more physical of a job. And like when you get back in as a quarterback, are they going to pull the longest yard where they just stand up, let the guys go through, and wait till
Right.
a true apology? Who knows? I mean, what's the implications coming back there? Obviously, we'll have to see once Richardson gets the nod again. But I think he set himself up really poorly for a guy that's got a ton of potential.
I think he needs a little bit of a break. It seems like he needs it. Like just personally, it seems like he needs a little bit of a break. It seems like when he recovered from his injury, he kind of got tossed back out there, and it just hasn't been playing the same. And it seems like this might actually end up being a good thing for him. Maybe get a little bit more time to whether that injury's still bothering him or if he just needs to get some conditioning under his belt, something like that. I think it'll end up being okay. Um, kind of a standpoint, and something that's been mentioned around the league the last few years is just the quarterbacks being thrown into positions where they just aren't extremely favorable. So, do I agree that he should have pulled himself out and that Joe Flacco should be quarterback? I do. I think Joe Flacco should definitely be quarterback, especially after that situation. However, I think AR-12 needs to go out there and he needs to focus. Excuse me, not 12, 14.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Um, my bad. Thinking of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, we'll talk about him.
Still
Oh,
stuck on Rodgers. But I think he needs to take this time. He needs to utilize it. Yeah, we will. We'll get to it. But he just needs to focus, and I think he can come back better from this if he keeps his right mindset. However, we've also seen this kind of struggle for quarterbacks in this situation, and then they don't come back and play exactly how they were before. So I want to give him the highest hopes because I think I like him, and I know some people that like him and some Colts fans. So I wish him the best. I hope that he kind of takes this as an opportunity to get a little bit better, and I kind of hope Joe Flacco goes out there and balls out.
dude, I do too. Joe Flacco, not a big Joe Flacco guy as well, but I appreciate what he's doing. If he can spoil a team in the North, go for it. And as Goldie Gopher says, go for it. But finally, we'll talk about around the NFL a little bit. We're just going to keep it brief here today. And the brief message is the Jets still suck. Like, I mean, they look really bad. They lose to the Patriots this past weekend.
Yeah.
And Aaron's talking about darkness, that they're in the darkness, and that's not a good message, as many Packer fans know. The Jets still suck.
Yeah.
You always bet, never bet on the Jets. Once
No.
again, we're talking that same message. Is there any way the Jets can turn this season around? They're now at that 2-6, 2-5.
Yeah, 2-5, 2-6. I think they are 2-6.
Is there a
Yeah.
way? Because you could still potentially make the playoffs yet. You could probably get about 8 losses in that division and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, their division isn't the strongest. So I mean they definitely, like you said, they got an opportunity. They could do it. However, they still suck. So
the
what's
Jets.
gonna happen? Who knows?
I'm sorry, Jets fans, if there's any watching. You guys got the butt end of that deal. Even though we got a second rounder from you guys, or yeah, because of the trade situation. we'll take it at this point. Aaron does not look good. Like, he looks like he's just exhausted, doesn't want to be there. And then the post game interview talking about like the darkness crap. Um, all I can hear is "Hello, darkness, my old friend." Dude. Like every time he stands at the podium, it's just like, oh my god, this is a guy that looks defeated. He doesn't look motivated. The sideline looks exhausted. Even like they talked about on McAfee coming out of the huddle for the Jets, they don't look inspired. They look like they're just kind of going through the motions, just trying to get this game done. And there doesn't, and part of it, actually a lot of it's on Rodgers. I mean, they run an offense that runs very little motions. You're not really throwing anybody off, and he's always been very stubborn in the kind of offense he wants to run. Obviously, it worked in Green Bay back in 2010 and for a number of years after that. But now it's kind of changed the league, and it's really not working anymore. And I don't think, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I think that's kind of the situation with Rodgers. Like, he's used to his ways. He's not going to give it up. And you're just going to continue to suck, Jets. I'm sorry until this thing ends. What are your thoughts on the Jets, though?
I think I completely agree with you. I mean, there's really not much else that you can say. They got all the weapons. They got all the offensive, all the defensive weapons. They made all the coaching changes. They've done everything that they can to turn this season around. And it just isn't working. And they played the Patriots, too, which was supposed to be their blowout game. They're like, all right, we're in the dumps right now, but we're going to play these Patriots. We're going to go out there and we're just going to roll the hell out of them. And we're going to just stop them. And we're going to look good. And we're going to put up offensive numbers and all this and that. And then they go out there and just lay an egg and get ran up on in the last few minutes of the game. It seems incredible that they're able to put this kind of roster together and then do absolutely nothing with it in one of the weaker divisions. Now, I'm not saying that they're in the weakest division, but let's be honest, they're not playing, the greatest people, besides the Bills, of course. The Bills are awesome. But besides that, like, they're not playing the biggest names in football, and they're just continuing to spiral. And like I said, the energy is not there in the field. The energy doesn't seem like it's there in the locker room. The energy isn't coming from the coaching staff because he's brand new and he's the interim head coach right now. And they fired the guy that was the hype and soul of the team. And then the hype and soul of the team goes over to the Green Bay Packers where Aaron Rodgers came from, and that just puts a bad taste in anyone's mouth. Regardless of the implications of it, it just doesn't feel good for your head coach to go to an opposing team, and then that opposing team is still doing good, or at least perceivably is doing better. Um, it's not a great feeling, and that locker room I feel like might be getting lost a little bit in the sauce, and of course Aaron Rodgers is spewing when Aaron Rodgers is spewing, and it just doesn't seem good. It doesn't look like they got bright futures ahead of them, but who knows? It is Aaron Rodgers. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not playing great right now, but he is Aaron Rodgers, so there's always opportunities where he comes from, but we'll see what happens. I'm astounded that they're able to acquire this much talent
And still
and make
suck.
this many changes and then just not do anything with it. They just, unfortunately, they haven't. Devontae Adams hasn't had like this amazing game where he's like, oh, this is why they got him. He hasn't had that yet. Alan Lazard really hasn't had that kind of game where he's like, oh, he's going crazy. I mean, he's had quite a few clutch catches. I'll give him that. But it just doesn't seem like they're going in the right direction. It doesn't seem like Aaron is making the plays and the calls and the switches that he needs. And then was it 3 timeouts or 2 timeouts used in the first quarter?
It was all three.
That's insane. It was all 3? What is that about? You can't even go through one half of football without using all 3 of your timeouts. And all 3 of them were because of, exuberant reasons. It was because they just weren't getting the play call and they weren't getting the ball ready. It does not paint a very pretty picture. What do you think?
Yeah, same page. Jets are just a mess, and I think Rogers talking about I really did see some concern. Obviously from Packers fan knowing Rogers, when he talks about the darkness, I always thought the darkness retreat where he kind of cut everybody off and did his own thing. It's not a good look. It's gonna be in Devontae not getting his catches. He already looks like he wants out of New York and wants to go somewhere else. And I'm not trying to make more out of it than it is. But if the Jets continue to suck, we're going to talk about it every week because they're one of the most hyped team. They get all the primetime games. And they put up abysmal numbers, if that. and they have a ton of talent. Like, I mean, even their running backs, Brees Hall, Braylon Allen. Looking around the wide receiver room, obviously Alan Lazard, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams. He's still a solid receiver. And they're just not formulating anything. That defensive side of the ball, they got Sauce, Quinnen. Do they still have Jamal Adams? No. Okay.
I don't. No.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think
they don't have a bad defensive team. They got a great defense.
Yeah, they got a solid defense.
A great defensive line.
Yeah, and they're just not able to do anything. Unfortunately, Jets fans, I think you guys got the raw end of the deal there, and it's it's kind of comical that you guys are seeing the problems we saw for a lot of years, and the offense just not changing at all to today's NFL. Not real any emotions, and just they look deflated. Rodgers looks like he doesn't care. He doesn't want to be there. He's just there to fulfill whatever his contract says. And I got a feeling in this offseason we're going to hear, if it continues this way, that he's done. He's hanging the helmet. But one final question. Does this tarnish his legacy at all? Rodgers.
In the eyes of a Packers fan, not in the Packers aspect, but in the eyes of an NFL fan, yeah. Unfortunately I gotta say yes. As a homegrown Packer fan, no. I'm gonna love him for what he did for us, and I'm gonna love the way that he carried himself while he was here. Minus the last year and some change, he was kind of acting like all.
He started the diva phase.
Right, and it just wasn't well, and obviously our team suffered for it. And do I agree with the Packers staff and not getting him any great wide receivers or drafting anything that really helped him? No. I think we actually kind of screwed that up quite a bit on the Packers side of things. But as an outside perspective, I think that all that you're seeing now is the troubles, especially when you're trying to follow up the actual GOAT of Tom Brady, and he was able to not really struggle at all. I mean, he struggled 1 year in Tampa Bay, and that was hardly. It wasn't like he was like 4-12 or something like that. He was doing pretty well for himself down there that year that he struggled, and he still ended up coming out with a Super Bowl at the end of the day. So I think this looks really bad for him. I think that this isn't what he wanted, and this isn't what obviously the Jets wanted, but it doesn't seem like they're making the changes necessary to get it done. It seems like they're trying to put a bunch of Band-Aids on a stab wound.
Trying to put a lipstick on a pig.
There you go. There's a good one. They're just not doing well, and it's just all washing down. And I think the energy in the locker room is starting to get affected, and I think the energy of the team is starting to get affected. I think they're just feeling downtrodden, and that the rest of the season is almost forfeit. It just looks like that. Now, they could have a great second half of the season and pop off and do this and do that. Who knows? But as of right now, they're trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think the Jets are a mess. It's going to have to take a lot of work. I think they're going to unfortunately have to clean most of the house in the offseason. I don't think it's changed in this season, unfortunately. Rodgers just doesn't look like his head's in it. He looks like he'd rather be laying on a beach somewhere, relaxing, having a cocktail, and I don't blame him. Ayahuasca. Yep, he'd like that too. But with that, we'll just kind of wrap things up here on the Beer, Meat, and Cheese podcast. Once again, it's been a fantastic week as a Packers fan. Carter Decker over alongside me. We're talking football all the time, everywhere. Carter's constantly texting me throughout the games. Did you see this? Did you see this? That's totally good. But you guys can message us too. Make sure to reach out to us at Real Johnny Samp and at Carter14Deck if you want to touch base with us, or if you would like to do it in a more quiet manner, you can email us at wespnsports.com. We'd love to hear your messages, see everything you guys are talking about, and anything you want to see on the pod. If we can make it happen, we'll make it happen. But if you have I hope you have a good weekend there, Carter, and I hope the Packers get that dub, baby. Let's get that dub at Lambeau. Let's spoil the Lions season. But
absolutely, I got the highest wishes for it, and I think we're going to have a good one.
But that'll wrap things up for the Beer, Meat, and Cheese podcast here on WSPN Sports. This is Carter Decker. I'm Johnny Samp. Let's have a great night. Let's have a good weekend, Pack. Go, Pack, go. And we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.